Here we go.
So welcome to this Venus Alchemy presentation on the Aries, Pisces, Libra, Scorpio, and Gemini meta goddess is. Plural. Meta goddess is plural. I'm Camille Castell. I'm here with Tammy Brung. I am not tracking as well as I would like to be, but it's all good. We've got the Virgo full moon. I think it's rising in many places where, as we speak.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Yes, and it's in the lion, and here we have the lion in our imagery here. So how cool is that?
Mm-hmm. And it's our final class, and we've had an amazing time, and it's hard to believe that we're already here. But here we are.
Yes, and just something I want to say before we get started is that the 2 bonus classes have been posted, and they're at the bottom of the page, so you have to scroll down to find them. But it's about how Venus is affected by our moon, the ancient goddess, and so who we've been as the goddess and who we're going to is what the Venus position describes, what we're here to explore, express, and help evolve. And then also the sun, and the sun is the fuel that we burn, so it adds a flavor to our expression of Venus, as well as the meta goddesses and star phases. So we'll also be creating or sharing with you some practices to synthesize all of this at the end, and actually starting out with this slide now.
Yes. So yeah. All right. So basically, one of the things we'll be talking about and exploring today, in addition to some of these meta goddesses, is the way that when we, for example, go through our Venus returns, part of what's happening is it's not only that we have a strong activation of this meta goddess, which is something we're always working with. We're looking at our overtone. We're looking at that meta goddess, which is about the cycle that we're born into. But also during our Venus returns, which is that cycle we're born into, that's when we also are supported in coming more deeply into our Venus sign or the Venus archetype. And we haven't talked that much about it, but Kaylin has given charts that show our Venus sign as well as the phase and also the meta goddess. So in any case, one of the questions that we like to explore is, how does the meta goddess inform or guide or help us to step into the goddess archetype that's represented by the sign of Venus in our chart? So, God, I feel so not articulate tonight, too. Okay.
I'm having the same problem.
I know, I feel a little backwards. Anyway, so basically, the synthesis of the meta goddess and the Venus sign and the phases is what we're working with now. And we see those 3 together as creating this really unique kind of Venus alchemy that each one of us is working with. So, for example, if we look at Oprah Winfrey, and some of this is just, I'm kind of tuning into the way that I see or feel these 3 dimensions move in this person's chart. It's a mind thing, it's an intuition thing, but also I just want you to go beyond that and just sense and feel more at a gut visceral level how these energies feel together with these individuals. So Oprah Winfrey, she's on the world stage, she's bold and pioneering, because again, the meta goddess has to do in some ways with how we show up on the world stage, how we show up on our work in the world. She's shining a light on issues such as racism and sexism and raising the consciousness of the collective, and in so doing, rapidly evolving the culture. So again, this is kind of speaking to her Aquarius nature. That's her sign. Her Venus sign is Aquarius. So she's really here about, being the light worker that she is and accelerating human consciousness. And that's really clear. She's so much about spirituality and all these different aspects. So visionary, but also, the way that she shows up, the work that she actually does in the world is helping to illuminate, to bring to light some of the dark areas in our culture with her underworld aspect. And also that she is very bold and pioneering in the way that she shows up. So that's the Aries meta goddess, you could say, showing up. Rachel,
the other underworld piece of this too is she keeps taking it deeper and further. That she's and she's willing to go into the shadowy places to bring them to. Yeah.
And also, definitely, if you look at her life path, you can see the underworld dimension that shows up in her life again and again. Her childhood or growing up years were all very much, her coming into her personal power and her spiritual growth through underworld experiences. And then you have Rachel Carson, who she was on the world stage. She revealed the shadow dimension of the chemicals industry at a time when, you know, post World War II, there was this enormous industry that was developed with pesticides and chemical fertilizers, and it was a very powerful force. And she she showed the shadow dimension of that in the way that it was killing off birds and destroying our environment. She wrote Silent Spring, and she was maligned for that. She was made to, she was very much ahead of her time, and she was extremely courageous to have brought that to the public awareness. So that's her Scorpio, you know, that Scorpio meta goddess really supporting her in bringing what has been in shadow to light. And then she's also just this wise woman who she was fueled by her love of our beautiful earth with her Venus in Taurus. So, you know, perhaps this vision, this understanding of the sacredness and the beauty of the earth as being what guided her to do this really powerful and challenging work. Then Meryl Streep shows up on the world stage as a very multifaceted, incredibly skillful actress who embodies the shapeshifter. I mean, you can see her take on so many different roles seemingly effortlessly. The divine comedian, you know, she has that funny edge to her as well that you often see. And she embodies as well, she carries this kind of nurturing energy and this kind of this wisdom. In many of her roles, you can see and feel that come through. And also when you see her, you know, give a speech, or when you see her as an individual, you feel that energy coming through. And in some of the issues that she's taken on, like for example, in the movie Silkwood, she takes on some of those topics that would concern a Cancerian woman who cares about her community and cares about what's happening to the earth and to the community around her. So those are just some ways to kind of tune into how these things synthesize.
And we're going to be definitely looking at this more as we go along, but now we're going to move into the breakout groups. And so while Tammy's putting people into the groups, we'll just talk a little bit about these questions that you can use as the conversation or in your group. How has the meta goddess represented by your overtone sign shown up for you? So you can think about that, and hopefully you have been thinking about that. If you haven't had a direct experience of your meta goddess, what might be in the way of you having that experience that you could now release? So you could think about that. And also, what insights does your meta goddess provide you in relationship to your Venus sign? And then you can also include insights about your Venus star phase, like whether your morning star, evening star, underworld, metamorphic underworld, whatever that might be. You could bring that in too if you have time and feel like you want to do that. And if you don't feel like you can do any of that, then perhaps just looking at the ahas that you may have experienced in exploring your own Venus phases and or.
I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms now, but it'll just take a minute.
Okay. So anyway.
You have to accept the invitation, of course.
Yes.
Are you ready? Or sorry, Kaylin, were you complete?
I am complete. You can send people into their rooms.
What are your rooms?
They were like when I was a kid, I was told to go to my room a lot.
This is more fun though.
Yeah.
So okay. So there are other people popping on. We've got 4 of us now, so we're maybe going to need to in this room. There's not really enough. Actually, you know what, Zana and Alejandra, I'm going to put you guys in your own room. In your own room, because with 4 people, there's not enough time to really, unless you both want to stay with us and just have a brief conversation. Your choice.
We're going to put them in their own room.
You know what?
Oh, there she is.
Actually, I don't even know. Breakout room.
Is someone talking to me?
Yeah.
You know what?
Terry was asking if you wanted to be in.
I don't think I can make any more rooms, so I think we're all together here.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think we should hear from Zan and Alejandra because they're going to hear from us a lot.
Definitely. Yes.
It's just us 4 tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
No, there's more people.
No. We're in.
Oh, they're doing the other thing, yeah.
Yes.
They've been sent to their rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're just looking at how the meta goddess, that your meta goddess, you're shown up in your life. If you haven't had a direct experience of that, what might be in the way of that, and what could you release so you could have a more direct experience? What are the insights? These are the things that, if you have anything around that, you could also include insights around your star phase and or any ha-has that you've had in this journey. So anybody want to go first?
Okay, well,
Go ahead.
okay, I don't have a lot to say. My meta goddess is Scorpio. My Venus sign is Scorpio. I don't know. It all blends.
Yeah.
And are you morning star, evening star, underworld?
Morning star, but between. So before the first gate.
All right.
There was a conjunction. There was a Moon Venus conjunction before that, but it was while Venus was still retrograde.
So you're like maximum, like you're like Inanna, who's just like super bright and powerful, just like all powerful. What an interesting.
Get out of my way!
But how does it feel to have that much morning star and then that much Scorpio? That's kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I think so. Because there's, on the one hand, there's this Scorpio pulling inward, sort of private, intense, like don't invade my space, don't come in my room, don't touch my journals, kind of thing. And on the other hand, there's this, whoa, I'm not the shy, retiring type. So yeah, and then that's a tension that I feel in myself, because I need a certain amount of being out and shining, and I need a certain amount of being alone. And especially when I was younger, that was a really hard balance to find. And I would have these mood swings, and I think a lot of the reason I did that was because I wasn't getting the time alone. And I remember at one point I was out in California and I was living with this guy, and I just gone out there, and I missed being, I live in Massachusetts, and I missed being on the East Coast, and I missed my friends, and I was just bummed out. And he was like, look, I gotta go to work. And he walked out of the door, and then he came back in, and I was all like, wah, 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 wah. He came back in, put a Grateful Dead tape on the cassette player that was sitting on the desk and walked back out again. And within 5 minutes, I felt so much better. And I was like, oh, maybe this is exactly what I need. So I'm not sure if that relates to Scorpio, but it kind of feels like it does. So.
It feels like Scorpio is one of those archetypes that there's introvert and extrovert and ambivert. Those are the people that are both. Mm-hmm. And I think Scorpio might be more ambivert, towards the ambivert spectrum of the wheel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Because I feel nutty if I don't get enough social connection. If I feel too isolated, I feel kind of nutty. But if I don't get alone time, I also feel kind of nutty. So it's like it's important.
I mean, I would say with that signature though, like with your phases, that morning star phase and then the Scorpio, it feels like it's a big energy. It's a big energy that you're navigating. I mean, that's without question. Scorpio with all the life force energy, and then this morning star that's super bright, super close to the earth. That's a lot of energy to manage, whether you're feeling it for yourself or whether you're expressing it out in the world.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Xana. I'm wondering if Alejandra wants to hear. We want to hear from Alejandra now.
You're my twin.
I know. I just saw that when I was looking. I mean, I had seen that you had the Venus and Sag also, but I didn't. So now, yeah, we are twins.
That's so fun. Yay. Awesome. Like, Alejandra must be awesome. Kaylin was like, yeah, she's awesome.
Thank you. I don't know what to say. But sometimes I feel like the Gemini overtone is always there. I mean, I guess it is always there to some extent, right? And it's really helpful for me because I can get very serious with the Capricorn moon, always, you know, just dampening everything down. So, and then also when I was looking over the PDFs for the class, and I saw, I guess it makes sense, but I hadn't thought about it much, about the inner child and the vulnerability part of the Gemini archetype. And that's been a huge theme for me in the past couple of years. Just really, you know, I've always been kind of like not wanting to deal with the inner child stuff, like just, and it's actually more interesting to me now. And I feel, it just feels closer to me instead of like this thing off in the distance that's going to be uncomfortable. So,
and also if your inner child if you can approach it from the perspective of play.
Yeah, your playful
Gemini loves.
or your magical inner child. It's about magic. You know, Gemini is so much about living a life of magic.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes I think the Gemini I just want to flake out, and that's hard with a Capricorn.
Does Capricorn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just constantly dueling around, like, should I be serious or not, and all that. So
yeah, it's very,
I mean, that's
interesting energies to balance with your moon. Yeah,
I mean, that's the only sliver of air that I have in my chart anywhere. So it's really helpful that I have at least that.
Yeah. Thank you, Alejandra.
Yes.
I think we actually need to break the rooms now. We've gone a little. I wish there was more time. We have this time we have a lot of people who've jumped on at the last minute too.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Closing all rooms.
So Zana and Alejandra, thank you for sharing. I think that'll be helpful for people to hear, because this in our room you're being recorded.
Oh
yes, and I think you're famous now. So, but I think with Alejandra, you know, that is pretty cool. You know, if we didn't have this information about the star, like the Venus cycles and the meta goddesses, you wouldn't get any Gemini at all. So how cool. When did you learn about this?
You know, when I first started studying shamanic astrology, and I learned about the overtone, I think it was like 2005 or something.
Do you feel like that was a transmission or a period where something new opened up for you that you didn't have access to before?
I don't think I really got it at the time. I was like, what? You know, I don't really like Gemini. You know, I mean, I hate
Capricorn moon judgment.
Exactly. And just, but I appreciate it much more now. So I didn't really quite, I'm not sure if it was a transmission. I mean, it must have been on some level. I'm sure.
Well, I mean, you were just learning shamanic astrology, and that's magical.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it all was magical. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think.
You have everybody back?
I guess. Let's see if there's still people lingering in the other worlds.
And if anybody has anything they want to share in the chat about your experience, you know, feel free to do that. And meanwhile, while Tammy's checking that, I'm going to go to the next slide, because basically, look how many overtone Aries meta goddesses we have in our group. Wow. 15. And we've got 5 people, not only with the meta goddess Aries, but also this Venus in the sign of Aries. So it's like a double, triple, quadruple power packed Aries experience. And then of course for Sharon Christine, she's also Morning Star. So that's like really fiery. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty interesting to see that. And then most people we've had in this class are the Scorpio meta goddess, including me, yay, going into my Venus return soon, yay. Anyway, and then we have just Zana and Lori, who also have Venus in Scorpio as well. And then for the Gemini, it's there's 5 with Diane being the one who has Venus in Gemini and natal Venus, overtone in Gemini. So it's just interesting to note these different aspects of what's going on here for this particular class. So I also have just shared again these slides of how the overtones have time, and I'm not going to go into them, but you can look at them and see, and it tells you how many times and from what years and all of that, and that's pretty interesting. And like when the next one's happening, of course, going into Libra, November 1st of 2018, coming up really fast. And then these are the going from Taurus to Aries to Pisces, and we'll have Venus rise in Pisces in 2025, March 29th of 2025. And for the first time in a very long time. And we have Cancer leading to Gemini and then to Taurus. So this is really showing the 5 points of the star and how it's shifting back through the signs. So Aries, shifts back to Pisces. So, all of this is Pisces. It gets to 0 Pisces and it'll shift into Aquarius. We've got Capricorn now, and eventually it's going to shift into Sagittarius. So they're going backwards through the signs, meaning when they first show up in a sign, they're at the last degrees of that particular sign. And when the last time they show up in the sign, they're at the 0 or 1 degree point of that sign. So that's just so you can get that sense of the movement. And last time we talked about how it's like 1,247 years for this pentagram to make a whole shift through all the signs. So we have Gemini going to 2052. It started in 1948, I think, and Pisces, or 1949. And then Pisces starts in 2025. Capricorn started in 1974 and goes to 2069. Libra starts in 2018, and Leo started in 1975. So they're not shifting exactly at the same time, but over time, this pentagram shifts all the way through to the different signs. Very cool to just have that visual.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. So now Tammy's going to tell us about how these have shifted and what that might mean.
Yeah, so again, here are some of the dates. July 24th, 1948 is when Venus shifted in from Cancer to Gemini. November 1st, 2018, Venus shifted from Scorpio to Libra. And then March 29th, 2025, Venus will shift from Aries to Pisces. So in other words, if you were born with a Scorpio or Aries overtone, you are going to be asked to take on the training or energy of the new meta goddess while also continuing to integrate and express your birth overtone. So again, it's like you're still always going to have that meta goddess you were born with as your guiding, that guiding feminine energy. But there's a new layer that's added on. And, so that's something that's exciting and mysterious to investigate. So you're in this kind of liminal phase at this time. So it's very likely your life themes are now shifting to also feature the new overtone. So, Kaylin, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, well, and I also just want to say, because Dana is saying that, so the Aries overtone ladies are shifting to Libra. No, the Aries overtone ladies are shifting to Pisces. Libra's across the thing. So when it goes to Libra, that's what's going to happen in November 1st of 2018. It's a different point on the pentagram. So actually, I could go back and show you that piece. So, it's been, maybe I'll even go back to Aries. It's been in the Aries, very last part of Aries. And so this whole 19-month cycle then will shift in November to the next 19-month cycle, but it'll be Libra this time because we had our last time in Scorpio. And then it'll go to Gemini and then get back to Capricorn and then to Leo and back to, this time it won't be Aries, it will be Pisces. Yeah. So if you have the Aries overtone, we have 15 people in this class, all 15 of you in 2025, when you go through your next Venus return, will be having a new energy to be integrated. And all of those of us who have Scorpio in November 1st, we're going to have a new energy to integrate. And we're going to talk about what those energies are as we go through this class. Yeah. So I just, I gave a little example here that I have the Scorpio overtone. In the last 8 years, I have been experiencing an increase in opportunities for the Libra collaboration partnership as we are collectively preparing for the Libra overtone. And it just seems to have really been magnified a lot. And I don't have any Libra on my chart.
Yeah, and this is where it's really exciting to look at. It only shows up in your overtone.
Right.
But I think too, there's a lot of people who have the Scorpio metagoddess. So maybe this is something for when we do Q&A. Has that been so for you? Have you seen this theme of partnership, collaboration? Has that shown up over the last number of years? And then also for all the people with the Aries metagoddess to be asking, are you beginning already to sense and feel into this new dynamic that has to do with the softening, or more feeling into the more compassionate dimension? Even though you may still feel this fierceness, you may still be activated by and working deeply with the Aries fierce feminine, that there's this softening that's coming through. So you might tune into that and see if you feel that happening for you.
You know, one of the things I got, this was some years ago in my priestess community, was that the next octave that we needed to go to was cooperation and collaboration rather than competition. And of course, anything that's not in alignment with that intention comes up. And so there was some competition that got activated.
Oh, that's funny. Of course.
Yeah, it was kind of like, a little scary, but you know, especially for Scorpio, who's really about the self. It's all about me. Right? You mean I'm now going to be considering others and being collaborative with them? I don't know if I like that. So that could be part of the challenge.
So then to just look at, and again, in a little more depth, explore going from Cancer to the Gemini overtone. So anybody who is born in the Cancer overtone, before 1948, it could look like, you know, having integrated the qualities of emotional care and nurturing. Now your intent, having grounded that, is to channel the Gemini qualities of playfulness and inspired communication into your work to restore a culture where it's safe to be vulnerable and to be in contact with the inner child. So again, some feeling of the synthesis between these energies. And then Scorpio, Libra, previous priorities in life you have been deeply informed by your passion, intensity for magnifying personal life force. And now your intent is to find alive and collaborative ways to increase life force through partnership with others. That's beautifully, yes, awesome. And then for the Aries Pisces, that while actively engaging the noble cause or mission, you're committed to furthering the Pisces metagoddess. Also asks you to include love and compassion and your desire to restore the cosmic balance. So again, for any of us who have those overtones, to really feel into how that might be shifting or may have shifted in the case of Cancer Gemini.
Right. Beautiful. So now we're going to start with going through each of the metagoddesses.
Okay.
And invoking them. So this one's yours, Tammy.
Yep. Okay. So the Aries metagoddess invocation. O mighty warrior goddess, you who guides us to restore the cosmic balance. Through wise use of our mighty power and strength, help us to fully express our wild, fierce, feminine soul and reclaim our courageous hearts as we step up to activate and cultivate our divine fire, our holy mission and noble purpose. Illuminate for us our personal cause, enliven our soul and spirit with direction and purpose. Fuel us with the resolve to gladly meet any challenge that stands in our way. When we see injustice, power over, and suffering in our world, help us to first turn inward and strengthen our warrior heart. Assist us in meeting our personal demons with fierce love and compassion as we actively commit to healing our own distortions. Show us what inspired actions we can take that right the wrongs, protect the innocent, restore justice and balance, and transmit further restoration and healing in our world.
Yes.
So this is just a bit more about the Aries metagoddess. She's the wild warrior woman restoring cosmic balance. She's who's on the world stage at this time, rising as evening star. And she guides us to attune to our inner and outer power distortions so we can bring them back into balance. She helps us take inspired action to further our worthy cause and claim our passionate life purpose. She returns to or finds our all-in commitment again and again and again. We may lose it, but she helps us to keep finding it again. Helps us to live from a fierce and full-hearted yes to all of life and to equally embrace ease and struggle, joy and pain, doubt and self-assurance. So to really, again, that's part of claiming all of life, not being just kind of half-hearted, but really fully living in the experience of the now and fully claiming our right to be here. So Aries ignites within you the flame of enthusiasm and eagerness to embrace life in all its dimensions. Attuning to the Aries bright fire, you experience life as a bold adventure, meeting your challenges with a glad and willing heart. And if your Venus overtone is Aries, your contribution in the culture is to illuminate areas of injustice, deception, falsity, and untruth by taking inspired action to balance and restore these areas to their original cosmic design. So to bring the world back into its original organic, healthy way of being. So
yes. And so this will be true for you for your entire life if you have this meta goddess. And in 2025, we're going to be adding the Pisces meta goddess, and this is the invocation to her. O wondrous, universal great mother, mighty goddess of immense love and compassion, you who know how to help and heal, you who inspire our ability to merge in mystical union with the divine essence that we are. Guide us to expand our compassion for all life through deepening our transcendent inner knowing and empathic sensitivity to what is needed now. You who are a visionary dreamer, help us to fully connect with your own visions and dreams, aligned with our personal and collective spiritual blueprint. Guide us to freely express and offer our gifts from overflowing love, kindness, and generosity of spirit. Assist us in feeling the full range of possible feelings, including full-on surrender to our sorrow and grief, so we know and experience the benefit of fully feeling these feelings as true blessings. Lead us to experience greater joy and blissful union with the Almighty Great Spirit and Great Mystery that we are here to express and help you all. By freely and lovingly offering what it is we do best within the heartfelt joy of sacred service. So, pretty powerful. It's like there, and when I feel into this, there's nothing wishy-washy about this, although of course the shadow side of Pisces can be wishy-washy. Anyway.
But so, no, in her clarity, she's not.
Right, exactly. And it's a very powerful, and it takes a lot of strength and courage to be able to do this piece as well. So this is a meta goddess who's going to help guide us to be a visionary dreamer and to cultivate our connection with the divine, to cultivate compassionate, safe space for self and others, to practice empathic, sensitive giving, to be flexible and adaptable, and express healthy forms of selfless service to spirit, the divine, and all of life. And I'll just say that I don't have Venus in Pisces, but I do have Sun in Pisces, and I have Neptune opposite my Venus in Aries. So I feel like I lived a lot of Pisces prior to finally awakening up the Aries part of it. And so all of these things really resonate in a profound way for me, feels really strongly.
And like me too. We both have that very strongly because I have the Aries ascendant and Neptune right on my Venus and my Mercury. So both Kayla and I have that Aries kind of riddle of Aries with lots of Pisces Neptune.
Right, which can create a little confusion sometimes, but it maybe helps.
I have an identity. Oh wait, no, I don't have an identity. Oh, I have.
And that's the shadow side, because that's when we're not really in that place of having developed all of these gifts and qualities yet. So I think for me as I've gotten older and I've become more aware of what my piece is, then it's become a lot easier for me to integrate the Pisces and the Aries together. So Pisces is the transpersonal goddess of love and compassion. She heals all wounds. And so this meta goddess really understands and values the gifts of feeling the full range of grief, sorrow, and joy, all the feelings, sadness, anger, fury, rage, whatever else we might also be feeling. And when Pisces is healthy, she is not trying to fix it, change it, or make it be different. She is really holding the space for wherever you might be or wherever she might be actually too, to merge into that space so that you can feel gotten and fully seen. And that can be the greatest healing gift anybody can ever experience. When that happens, when you get the opportunity to have that experience with somebody who can meet you in that place. So when this shifts to Pisces, this overtone shifts to Pisces, then your contribution will be to take the fierce Aries nature that has illuminated your life, furthering a just, noble cause or mission, now guided by the deeper truth of love and expressed through fierce compassion as you cultivate an ability to step up to whatever is needed to help and heal yourself first. And then by your loving presence, you'll naturally activate the power of love to heal the world. So these are just, a few of the thoughts. I mean, we could probably spend a whole class just talking about some of the, what this might be about. And, in 2025, we probably will.
Yeah.
Right?
I just wanted to add that Dana had written, and with the original Aries overtone, it will have some moxie, referring to the Aries and Pisces meta goddesses together.
Yes, right. Yeah, so it's not at all wimpy. It is.
Yeah, it's already embodied, already grounded, the Aries.
Yes. Yeah, so.
So, okay, the Scorpio meta goddess invocation. O mighty goddess of death and rebirth, queen of powerful magic and life force energy, inspired by your commanding strength and power, we ask you to guide us into the depths of your mysteries as we learn to continually dive deep into the feeling realms, going deeper than we have ever been before, experiencing surrender into the mysteries of life, death, life, dying and being reborn again and again, each time with greater power, mastery, and wisdom. Great goddess of magic and mystery, help us to transform our fears of being a catalyst and powerfully showing up as we truly are, powerful, intense, and alive. Guide us to align our will with your divine will, fully embracing our catalytic nature as we bring the shadow to light, liberating the infinite source of life force energy that is still bound by our fear, so that we may truly live and express the magnificence that we are.
I really love this, and one of the things it's bringing up for me is, in my priestess work back in the 90s, one of the things we talked about were how many women literally volunteered to step into the fire, to be burned at the stake, to help transmute and transform, not maybe consciously, but from their soul level coming into the life at that time, being willing to go through the transformational fire, so to speak. And I think that one of the things that happened as a result of that is that there can be in our DNA some of that trauma that gets passed through the generations. So there can be a fear of being a catalyst. And I know that for me, as a Scorpio meta goddess, when I was younger, if anybody was angry with me or got catalyzed by me in some way that I wasn't necessarily intending, I would go into a lot of trauma. So I love how this really invokes a different perspective on what that's about.
Yeah, beautiful. So this meta goddess guides us to experience events that help us to master the mysteries of surrender, death, and rebirth. We may not necessarily ask for those experiences. They may not be what we had wished for, but what they do is present us with the opportunity to master these mysteries and develop more empowerment in the process. So master life force energy, manifesting our desires in alignment with divine will, experiencing all that enlivens us, discovering powerful expressions of Tantra and shamanism, accepting that we are a catalyst, a conduit for bringing the shadow to light so it is transformed and transformational. And, this, of course, Scorpio is one of those signs that's been out of favor. And so it's one that we are so deeply needing now. We're needing the Scorpio meta goddess. We have been, and she's been really bringing these mysteries back to light. So the Scorpio meta goddess has not only been out of favor for a long time, she's been greatly feared and repressed. In recent years, there's been a resurgence of desire to again explore her mysteries, overcoming the fear of being tortured and burned at the stake. When our passion is ignited and we relentlessly pursue it, we feel more alive, more excited, and turned on. Through persistent intensity, pursuing our desires, the powerful magic of alive life force energy returns to us and informs our choices. So we've been doing this work for almost over 100 years now of integrating the Scorpio feminine, so much so that we can trust that it's now anchored in a healthy way, and we can shift into Libra.
Yeah. And Tammy, I think you might want to mute people because I'm hearing some extra noises.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened, but I will definitely do that.
Yeah.
And just wait a second, because I will have to mute you, and then
You'll have to unmute me. Right?
Okay.
So the Libra Metagoddess invocation. O radiant and shining goddess of the relational realms, inspired by your brilliant, harmonious love light, guide us in understanding who we really are through our interaction with others. Help us to discover the gifts that are part of any healthy collaborative relationship. Help us to know and personally experience the gifts of cooperating with each other in co-creating a happy, healthy, and harmonious world. Bless us with your guidance and wisdom in transforming whatever limiting beliefs remain around the challenges of hierarchical relating. So even when we are in roles of either teaching or being taught, of guiding or being guided, of helping or being helped, of inspiring or being inspired, we know our value is never more or less than anyone else. Help us to see that every relationship we encounter, no matter how brief or challenging, is a mirror reflecting what is within us. Help us to know and experience the magic of seeing who we are through the eyes of another, so that we live in relational peace and balance from the inside out. So that's what we have to look forward to, Scorpio Metagoddesses. It might not be easy either. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that manifests. But as I said, I really am feeling that I'm doing a lot of that work now. So I've already been doing that for a while. So this meta goddess, who is the divine consort, is guiding us to understand the importance of healthy relationships where everyone is equally valued for their unique contribution to the relational experience. And one of the ways that we like to talk about this in the shamanic astrology perspective is it's a round table. Nobody sits in a more important position than anybody else. So and this is also not just the relationships we have externally, it's all the parts we have within us, bringing them to the round table and hearing from all of our parts as well. And sometimes we don't want to hear from certain parts, especially if they're complaining and mad, right? So, but that's part of the journey, I feel, as well, so that we have it from the inside out. And then understanding healthy relationships begin with recognizing no one is more or less important than anyone else. And I think that is something that is a little bit challenging where we've been conditioned in a patriarchal world to have a certain perspective, that there's the king, or there's the person in charge, there's the president, there's the boss, the parents, the whatever, that somebody's been in charge. And so how do we begin to really see that what we have to offer may not be the same, it's equal, but equal value, not equal meaning the same. So that's an important distinction to understand as well.
And I think that what Libra does is understands that it's about the uniqueness of the individual. And so it's not about a hierarchy, it's about each person being unique.
So Dana, yes, you have these invocations in the PDF handout on the class page. Everybody has them. So yeah, thank you for saying that. Whoops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Thank you for saying that they're beautifully written.
Yes.
Because we put a lot of time into them. And so thank you. We love that feedback. So I wasn't done, was I?
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like there's one more.
Okay, that's a little confusing. What can I say? Okay. I think Neptune is about to be conjunct the sun. That's part of what's going on. And I have my Pisces sun. Neptune is pretty much on it. So keeping track of things has been far more challenging in the last few days than usual. Okay, so a part of what we're learning is the value of cooperation and collaboration as being foundational to the healthy relationship experience. And I'll just say I'm in a very collaborative, cooperative relationship for the first time in my life. And I feel like I'm met in all of those ways with my beloved. And it makes all the difference in the world. It's like I'm happy every day to wake up and be in relationship with this person. So, hopefully we can all have that experience. So, and it's also about knowing ourselves through what others reflect to us. And one of the things I've been practicing for a while myself is like, if something comes up and I don't like it, somebody starts saying something to me I don't like, when I get over being hurt or whatever about it, then I'm like, okay, so what is this about for me inside? What is this reflecting to me, and what do I need to get from it? Because it's really not about them, it's about me. And that's really part of, I think, the Libra journey as well. And being a skillful diplomat, a peacemaker, promoting harmony, balance, and personal connection is a lot of what this goddess is helping us do, this meta goddess is helping us do. So again, she's been out of favor. And one of the ways we know she's been out of favor for the last few thousand years is the stories of Hera and Juno. Hera being married to Zeus, Juno being married to Jupiter. They're basically the Roman version of the Greek stories. That those names they're basically the same gods and goddesses. And what happened was Hera had to give up her sovereignty in order to be in relation she had basically a choice, because when the patriarchy came in, they basically told her if she didn't marry him, she would be killed. And so to keep her mysteries alive, she agreed to marry him.
What the other version of that story is, Kaylin, is that Zeus showed up to her as is very hurt and wounded being, and her compassion trapped her into a relationship with him.
So that's another version, but the story that I'm telling really comes from the research of Demetra George and Asteroid Goddess. So, but basically what it tells us is, and because she wanted to hold the space for conscious equal partnership for, the Libra mysteries, but she was pretty much angry a lot because he was so dishonoring of what it meant to be in a conscious equal partnership. So that's why it's been out of favor, and particularly for women, it's been the experience of having been owned rather than, in a collaborative equal relationship. So that's where we're changing it, because these relationships have been based in hierarchy. And so where there's a dominant person, usually the man, in the relationship. And so this is what we're really needing to transform and transmute. And of course, the Scorpio goddess has been helping with that already. And we're already well on our way into that. So anyway, all of these factors what resulted in having a lot of dysfunction in relationship, and it didn't serve us in having a healthy relational experience. And I think we're on the, really on the edge of understanding how we can transform and transmute this fully. And some people are already having that experience. And some are still on their way to having that experience. So as this meta goddess returns, it's time to once again experience the gifts of equal and collaborative partnerships, recognizing that we all thrive when we foster cooperation rather than competition. So yay for Libra.
I haven't seen that theme all around me with so many clients. It's so up.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. And, we're about to embark on this shortly. So not too long from now, November 1st.
Yeah. Wow.
Just around the corner.
It is. All right. The Gemini Meta Goddess Invocation. Oh, playful, fun, and creative goddess, you who open the pathways and doorways into realms of magic and creative genius. You who restore our faith in the wonder of life. Show us the truths we knew as a child. Restore to us what the years have hidden from us. Reveal to us our genius through dreaming, signs, synchronicity, and creative inspiration. Reveal to us how life is magical and continuously filled with possibility and delight. Open our ears and inner sight to the hidden language of the stars, the planets, the animals, the stones, the rivers, the mountains, and the trees. Heal our minds from the old stories and narratives whose time has passed. Awaken within us new stories, new songs, new possibilities, new understandings, bringing love, magic, and play into our world again.
Yay!
Love the Meta Goddess, the Gemini Meta Goddess.
Yes.
And it was so fun to create these. And what came through for me was that Gemini Meta Goddess is she who opens the ways. And so this goddess helps us to awaken our inner magical child, so we are guided by a more fun and less serious order of reality, thank goodness. We hear the song of the universe and the language of the stars, the plants, the animals, the spirit world. We become a creative messenger, telling stories that entertain, enlighten, and inform. And we pay attention to synchronicity and signs as guideposts leading us to live greater magic and possibility. So the Gemini meta-goddess opens the ways, attuning us into the infinite wisdom and insight of our magical child nature. She reminds us we live in a multiverse where all times and realities are accessible to us in the now as the free electron accessing multidimensional possibilities. She reminds us we have a choice, magic or middle worlds. And I actually once had a vision of a hummingbird who asked me that very question. Magic or middle world, you choose. You can guess what I chose. She acts as the divine muse or attendant genius, inspiring our greatest creative ideas and projects. Her presence expressed through us has the power to brighten, lighten, and heal the sad and serious adults currently wreaking havoc in our world, including the sad and serious adult inside who sabotages and pillages our inner world. She is all about the healing power of, I can't read this. Can you read it?
Creative, playful. Yeah, creative, playful fun that is beyond the ordinary conditioning and rules of this reality. I just want to say, Alejandra, it sounds like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
In our breakout group. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so what we have now are the overtones of the dates. So if you have the Aries overtone or meta goddess, these, you know, and you want to do your life review, these are the dates that you can use to work with. You can also use the document that we gave you as part of this class that's on the class page. And especially if you want to look at the different phases, like that's what I like the document for. So I go, oh, I was in a Venus return these years. Okay. And this is what was happening when that was happening. And, you know, so it's really helpful. And of course, then that we're currently in the Aries Venus return that started on March 31st of 2017 and goes to October 31st of 2018. And then, as we've mentioned, on March 29th of 2025, it will rise in Pisces with the new meta goddess on the world stage for 100 and some years. And then these are Cancer,
Gemini. I say really quickly that Viola said, "It's so good to see you. I must go. Great job, both of you."
Thanks, Viola. And then the Scorpio cycle dates, and of course November 1st is going to be come Libra. So, but we don't have that one yet. So these are the ones you can look back through to see what was going on for you in these returns if you happen to have the Scorpio meta goddess.
And even then, if you don't, you can actually see what happens.
Right. Yeah, and see if you respond to them, like we shared in the last class, like how Tammy responded. Which one did you do, Tammy?
Which one? Leo. Which was
Leo,
interesting because I have no Leo in my chart, so it was a fascinating experiment.
Yes, and then I talked about how I respond to the Capricorn. It's been very significant for me ever since it went into Capricorn. So you can maybe look at that. And I didn't even realize that until Tammy and I were doing our first Venus journey through the gates, the ceremonial journey through the gates in the Capricorn cycle. And suddenly I was like having these memories of the different times when it was in the Capricorn overtone and how many things, major life events had happened to me. And then I was like, ooh, I really respond to this cycle. Maybe more so than others, but anyway. So what we've done here is we've put in all the goddesses. So if you have a natal Venus in Cancer or Leo or Virgo or Libra, any of these natal signs, you can get their intent. What's the intent of that? The challenges of that and the gifts of that to add to your understanding of whatever the meta goddess is for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So again, in our last class, we had lots of people asking different questions, and these were just a couple questions that could be helpful for you now. The first one is, when there is an emphasis on the Scorpio archetype, either by sign or overtone, although Venus could be morning or evening star, would it be fair to say that it might add a more underworld energy to its expression? And of course, yeah, that having Venus in Scorpio with Scorpio overtone adds more of the underworld dynamic to the Venus experience, or even just having Venus in Scorpio, or just having the Scorpio overtone. And so just to understand that as well, if you have a Gemini overtone, for example, Alejandra, and some of the rest of us. If you have Gemini overtone, but say you have like a Scorpio Venus or something like that, it would add more actually of the kind of the metamorphic experience, what we talked about with the metamorphic goddess. It would add a little bit more of that feel of being the shapeshifter, being magical, there's the free electron, some of those energies. Or if, for example, you have the let's see, what's the other overtone we're working with?
Today
Aries.
Aries, yeah.
If you have the Aries overtone, right? But then you have like a Cancer Venus, it's going to be kind of like, it's adding, you could say kind of like a morning star, I don't know, kind of experience.
Right. It's definitely adding a more fiery nature to that. So that Venus in Cancer may be even more like a mother bear protecting her children. Like, when you add the Aries piece to that. And I know I have Venus in Aries, Scorpio overtone, but for me, that I would protect my children before I would protect myself. So anyway, I have the evening star Scorpio meta goddess, and my intensity and my catalytic nature was hugely suppressed and repressed by my parents as I was growing up, and it was not safe for me to express it at all. So I've been finding ways to express that as I became an adult, and particularly have been able to express it through sacred work, which is my Venus and Aries having a mission and a cause and a purpose. So it's just this is part of how we're synthesizing this information and these energies. So we're going to share a little bit more about how to do that.
Yeah, so the deepening practices we're suggesting, you can do any one of these, none of them or some of them, we think it can be supportive, would be, you could do an Aries, Scorpio, or Gemini overtone life review. So whether or not this is your personal overtone, if it is, then you're just continuing your Venus life review. But even those that aren't, you could just see how that meta goddess plays a role in your life. And so look at what happens, the patterns that emerge in those particular cycles. It's really interesting. And then
just something to remember about that is each meta goddess is impacting the collective psyche of humanity for the feminine while they're on while that goddess is on the world stage. So that's why it can be useful to see how are you impacted by that particular one, or any particular one, because you are, whether you're aware of it or not.
Awesome. Okay, so then to go deeper with that, you can meditate or you can journal on an aspect of any meta goddess that you seek to further understand. And again, this is just maybe even using the questions we've used, or just thinking about somebody in your life who carries this energy, or there are many different ways you can think about it. But again, to begin by looking at what was happening in your own life during this phase can also be a good way to go. Venus synthesis process is to consider how experiences during your specific Venus returns have helped you embody your Venus sign, kind of like what we were talking about before. And then to go even deeper, to write a Venus synthesis statement for yourself, bringing together your meta goddess Venus sign and Venus star phase, and look at the examples provided and maybe make a collage like you'll see Kaylin and I had done as you move down for a minute.
Yep. So we're done with this piece, right? Okay. So this is yours, Tammy.
Okay, so as morning star Venus and Sagittarius with the Gemini overtone, this is just one example of how I felt that my Venus overtone cycle helped me step into my Venus and Sagittarius and the way these two energies interact. So my father died of cancer 2 days before my 40th birthday, and also actually just right after December 21st, 2012. And so his soul left this earth on that powerful day when the sun was aligned with galactic center. And that experience for me was by far the most profound spiritual awakening of my life so far. And, I definitely felt like in his actual dying process, after he died, it felt as if the enormity of his spirit just filled the room. And there's a lot that I can't even describe that it opened for me. But to me, it was an activation into my Sagittarius goddess, into the aspect of a level of spiritual gnosis and illumination and understanding that I didn't have access to prior to that. So I see the Gemini goddess as she who opens the ways. She also, in this phase, she supported me in that process and seeing the magical dimension of death. And she also guided me after his death to active dreaming, a practice that integrates magic and mystery as a way of life and spiritual path, including having a deeper understanding of how to navigate the paths of death and to experience the spiritual dimensions of that. So my synthesis, one of the syntheses is, in the public arena, I bring magic back into the world. I am a spiritual pioneer seeking my highest vision. And I just can't read the last line.
Dedicated to my full awakening and living my personal truth. Yeah.
So this is just one way that I use those three aspects in a synthesis. So just to say really quickly also that Lori's saying, I have to sign off. This course has been amazing. Thank you for all your work and devotion. I'll stay in touch. Much love, Lori. Yay. Thanks for joining us, Lori.
Yes, it's been wonderful.
So amazing to have you. And then Kimie had written that she was raped during a Scorpio meta-goddess Inanna underworld phase. Wow.
That's powerful.
That is powerful. That's very intense. And yeah, I mean, like, just double down of that energy. It, you know, when we find those things, it reverberates on a level that when you explore what the underworld experience is about, which we've been doing, and what the Scorpio meta-goddess guides us to understand and deepen and know, it can help us, you know, to look at that experience in a different way. Thanks for sharing that, Kimie.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me, this is a saying I always hated when I was in any kind of Pluto or Scorpio cycle. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that somehow there's always a gift in it. And sometimes it can be years before you see, you know, how that was a transformative experience for you. But wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So these are some of the things that got activated. So I was looking at this from how it activated my Venus and Aries when I went through these Venus returns at 16, when I first started dating my first real boyfriend, and then doing more of what I wanted to do, but I did it covertly because, of course, I have the Scorpio overtone, and not overtly because my parents were dictators and punished harshly, so I was always sneaking around. But it was a way of me kind of stepping up and being more like, I'm going to do what I want, which is what Venus and Aries loves to do. And then at 24, I had the courage to quit a job that wasn't working for me, but I didn't have the courage to confront the people, so I just did it my phone. And yet, for me to even do that was a big step, because I was I tended to not do very well with having to confront authority ever, because when I did it as a kid, it was very dangerous for me. So anyway, then at 32, I had the courage to request certain boundaries in my first marriage, and I actually gave an ultimatum and said, if these things weren't fulfilled, then I was going to divorce them. And I did. After the boundaries continued to be violated, and then I had the courage to file for divorce, and then I had the courage to go through with it, even though I had a minimum wage job and 3 small children, and I was absolutely terrified of how I was going to make it on my own to do that. But it all worked out. It was all good in the end. It just took a while for me to see how that was going to happen. And then at my age 40, Venus return was when I went into my priestess process. And then I was able to further my cause of bringing shamanic astrology into a bigger community. And I also had to face fear again, because Scorpio meta goddess, I had to face the fear of speaking in front of people, because I was absolutely terrified, because I practiced hiding and being covert so much of my younger life to survive my childhood, that being seen and being in front of people it would cause my heart to race. I'd have panic attacks practically in front of people. So clearly I got over that. But I, that was a place where it started, being able to be shifted for me. And then at age 48, I found the courage to help my second husband with an intervention, and was terrified of his reaction, but I knew it needed to be done no matter what the cost was to me. So the marriage did end the following year, much to my great grief and simultaneous relief. It was a good thing for me. he's still not doing all that well, but that was his choice and I had done my part. So I felt like I was liberated from that situation. And then at age 56, I really committed to working ceremonially with the entire 19-month Venus return, unaware it was going to lead to a new mission via Venus alchemy 2 years later in 2014. So what I get is that each time this is taking me either more towards a cause and a purpose, or more towards being able to be courageous and able to step up. So that's how each of these returns has really helped me to get more fully into my intended Venus expression.
Awesome.
Yeah. So do we have any questions that need to be addressed before we move on? Okay. So this is a way that you can do a synthesis statement, and basically you can fill in this, or you can create your own kind of personal way of making the statement, or create your own personal invocation. So we're just trying to give you some examples of how you might go about doing it. So if you start out by saying, I am either morning star, evening star, Anana underworld, metamorphic underworld. I am, so for me, I am an evening star. My meta goddess guiding me through my path of life, goddess awakening is, for me, it's Scorpio goddess. The ancient goddess I've embodied through countless lifetimes is and this is where you insert your moon sign. And for me, I'm a Sagittarius moon, so that's mine. And then my Venus in Aries goddess is illuminated and fueled by Pisces, I'm sorry, Pisces sun. So the sun sign. Do you want to do yours real quick, Tammy?
You mean on the next page?
No. Oh, that's right. You did do it on the next page. Okay, so never mind. So then you just, using the language that we have created for you in any of these PDFs, or from your own understanding or own experience, or however else you want to do that, then you can create a statement.
Actually, I do want to do it, Kaylin.
Okay.
I see what you mean, because we created this little format. It's fun. Okay. Yeah. I am a morning star. I am a morning star, bold, pioneer, fierce feminine, committed to restoring wholeness to the world, guided by the magical and wild spirited Gemini meta goddess to keep expanding beyond what I have known before. The ancient goddess I have embodied in many lifetimes is magical, is devoted to keeping my inner magical child alive. And gosh, this is hard to do on the spot.
I know.
Okay. And the Gemini moon it's illuminated by the fuel of my Sagittarius, my expansive visionary Sagittarius sun.
And your Sagittarius Venus goddess is, for this life, is being also fueled by.
That doesn't show up, does it? Yeah.
So so anyway, you can use, if you haven't seen or engaged the class material on the sun and the moon, that again has already been posted, and you can go and do those, and that'll help you with creating your synthesis statement. That's just basically the idea, is to capture the essence. So you can also create a vision board that we're going to show you how we've done ours in a moment. But here's just a quick example that I did. I said, I'm an evening star high priestess committed to restoring wholeness to the world, guided by the relentless intensity of my Scorpio meta goddess to keep diving deeper. The ancient goddess I've embodied in many lifetimes is truth-seeking and consciousness-expanding Sagittarius, illuminated by the fuel of compassion and kindness, my Pisces sun. So it doesn't have to be long, but it can be really helpful to just sum it up. And having done this, and I know, Tammy, you can probably say this too, it's so helpful to really just kind of bring it all together, sort of weave it into a simple statement that allows you to kind of see it in a sort of wholeness in a simple way.
And to really spend some time with it, to really mess with it, as you're journaling or however you want to do it. I know I did that originally. I don't know where my version is, but it's right here. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay.
So
all right. Can I read it just because it's so much better than the spot? Okay. I am a morning star goddess claiming my fullest engagement with my solar plexus chakra. The meta goddess guiding me through my path of full goddess awakening is the Gemini goddess. The ancient goddess I have embodied through countless lifetimes is also the Gemini goddess. So this is a very simple version. The present and future goddess I am here to embody in all her glory is the Sagittarius goddess. She shines brightly with the illuminated energy of Sagittarius, my son. So this is just filling in the blanks, basically. And you can just do that, and you can feel that energy of how that works for you. Or you can really synthesize it even more.
Yes, exactly.
And I did add my chakra gate. But for any of you who have a chakra gate, not all of us do, again, you can find that in the that document that Kaylin created that's on our class page. So
some people won't have a chakra gate, and they might even add, like, if they're between, or some additional understanding around wherever they are in the cycle.
Yeah.
But if you have a chakra gate, it's great to add that too.
Yeah.
So here's your
Hi, Tammy Brunk. Am the fierce feminine morning star, boldly shedding all skins, hiding my bright light. I am sourced and guided by my magical muse, she who opens the ways to the multiverse, and my inner genius child. I am visionary, mystic, sage woman, wild and free, arising and pursuing the spiritual quest to restore the cosmic order by actively dreaming into being the new earth and human family.
So this is the kind of thing, like, if you make make a collage like this and create a statement at the center that you can put on your Venus altar or somewhere where you'll see it quite often.
I'm going to. I didn't print it last time, but I'm going to print it out.
I meant to do that, and then I just didn't for some reason. So this is my synthesis statement based on the way that we just described it, because I am an evening star goddess, claiming and embodying the gifts of a healthy throat chakra, exploring and discovering the courage to speak my truth in kind and compassionate ways. With relentless passion, my Scorpio meta goddess guides is helping me to discover and experience wise use of my vital life force energy. My ancient goddess guide is Sagittarius, persistently seeking ever expanding states of consciousness that enliven my spiritual quest. My emerging present and future goddess is learning to embody and express the Aries wild warrior woman, committed to furthering worthy causes, shining with great love and compassion, restoring the cosmic balance within and without. So that's another way you can do it. So we just wanted to give you some examples so you could see that there's no one right way. But if you want to create a more simplified, like really direct kind of statement, and this is my collage, and my favorite part of this collage, because I am an evening star, is a wise woman once said, "Fuck this shit," and she lived happily ever after. So anyway, I had to put that in there. I just couldn't resist.
Awesome.
So yeah. So my invocation is, I am an evening star wise woman priestess, she who remembers the ancient future, now finding new creative ways to communicate my feminine wisdom with relentless, passionate, and courageous, loving aliveness, igniting alchemical transformation that includes new possibilities and pathways for the innovative, imaginative, pioneering, visionary, wild warrior woman to restore love and compassion as the primary leading energy in my world and beyond. So I like that. And I was like, I don't know why I didn't print this out the last time.
I know.
Yeah, it's time to do that and put it on my altar. So I think we're ready now to do a little journey that you have for us, Tammy.
Okay, so this time I'm going to ask, hopefully you can either, you might put your video, if you have video, you might like turn it off for a minute if you feel self-conscious. But what I'm going to ask you to do in a moment is to stand up, not yet, but in a moment is to stand up actually, but in such a way so you can still hear me as I speak. So, okay, so now we're going to just begin, and I'll ask you to just gently, wherever you are, to stand. And to raise up your arms to your sides, really letting yourself take up some space. And maybe close your eyes. And if you remember what your Venus sign is, what is the sign of your Venus, then you're going to take a moment to just feel the energy of this Venus goddess infuse your body, just like a light, that you might feel it streaming into you from your crown chakra, filling you with this expression of the goddess. You might feel that light streaming, like beginning from the center of your heart, like a flame, and then in a sense, consuming you in a way that just lights you up with this energy and enables you to just shine the light of this goddess energy. If you don't remember your Venus sign, don't worry. Just allow it to be the energy of the divine feminine that you are here to embody. So just take a moment to feel that. And see how it feels in your core, in your torso. How does it feel in your fingers? And let your body, if you feel moved to, let yourself just, you might gently just begin to move. Just very small movements, just very soft. Just let that expression of the divine feminine move you. How would she move? So now that you are feeling the goddess that you are here to embody, I want you to imagine that in front of you appears, once again, your meta goddess. Whatever form, just let yourself be surprised. She's right in front of you, and she's shining like the sun. And once again, you're going to reach out and you're going to embrace her and embrace her energy into your field and add this to the goddess energies you are already radiating. And you feel her enlarge your energy field even more. And you feel the ways that she protects you. You feel the ways that she supports you in stepping into the world in a powerful way as only you can. And now I want you to open your awareness and imagine that every other woman in this circle is standing in a circle beside you and around you. We're creating a circle together. And see the divinity, see the light, see the goddess in each one of us. And it's okay if you haven't seen all of our faces, just know that you're seeing the spirits of all the women in the circle, those who have been attending, those who are just in the peripheral field. We're all here together creating this circle, bringing our energy, our light, our love, our empowerment as the divine feminine into the circle together. And take the hands of the two goddesses next to you and feel the light and feel the upliftment and the power that we now share with each other. And see the light that is created by our circle become even brighter. And now imagine that the Earth, beautiful planet Earth, is just beneath us. And we are these enormous beings of light. And there is our beautiful planet, and each one of us together, as our sovereign, divine goddess selves, we are all joined in a force of light, and we are beaming our love, we are beaming our just deepest care, and so that we create a circle of light around the world. And we are beaming our heart energy, and we are bringing the divine feminine light down into the world in the way that only we can as this sacred circle in this moment. Okay, and now just appreciate for one more moment the power of that, feeling this deep connection with the earth, with each other, and the ways that we are aligned and we are in service, and we are shining who we are and how that heals and serves. And then bring that energy back into your body. And return. And let that energy just move within you in a subtle way as you return to your seat and return to the room and return to the present moment into this class.
That was amazing, Tammy, and I just want to follow it, or we'll complete this section of it before we go to Q&A with this little statement that we have ended other classes with. We now celebrate the emergence of the goddess in every one of us, both men and women, in all her many forms and expressions, in the best, most magical, healing, useful, and loving ways possible. It is done, it is so, and we give thanks. Blessed be.
Blessed be. There's everyone. Beautiful.
So now we have time for some questions, comments, insights, ahas, or as a shaman friend of mine used to say, screams of outrage.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to mute and unmute everyone really quickly. So, okay, now everyone can
so now
unmute themselves.
Beautiful. So if you have anything you want to share, then we'd love to hear from you. Any questions you have? Stella?
I would like to
yeah.
say something that in response to when you were talking about the Libra goddess to Pisces, and also you were talking about Hera and the anger of her. And you know, you brought in your piece, Tammy, in terms of that it was her compassion. And so, for me, in my experiencing and with what I've done in my sort of studies, inner studies, etc., over the years, is my sense is that when there was the entrance of the separation, the patriarchy, and the masculine domination, so Zeus entering in the way he did, is that actually that the feminine, out of her great compassion, which you talked about some, Kaylin, in terms of that she agreed, but she got pretty pissed too, because the other side of the agreement wasn't there. But what I feel is that the feminine has showed up through all of this time and been subjugated, and even willingly taken the subjugation with what we have done and put up with, in order to hold that feminine energy, to hold the light, to keep it alive, and to also allow the masculine to go through its journey, fiasco, whatever you want to call it. But and now we've come to this point, and yes, and maybe even with that whole scorpionic energy, where we've allowed ourselves to be burned, to be transmuted, etc. Then now we're ready to move into the Libra more, and also heal, and no longer do we need to show up in that way, because we don't have to allow ourselves to be raped. We can be sealed. And I do feel, because I've done a lot of work actually with the Atlantean times, Remembrance of Lifetimes, and with others, and what I felt is that some of the energies of that time, which were really negative and violations, they entered because of our hearts being open, and the love and the care for our loved ones. And so I just wanted to say that, because I feel like both of you are saying the truth in terms of that there was the compassion, there was the love that also allowed that entrance. But now it is time for us to no longer allow ourselves to be violated, to seal that. And I feel like even beautiful Tammy, what you've gone through with your fibroids and stuff, I've seen so many people, heard of so many people working with their pelvis. And I feel like the pelvic chakra, the pelvic bowl is being healed, so it can be a vessel again for the divine.
Absolutely.
Instead of sacrilege.
Stella, you have no idea.
Yeah. So, well, an interesting thing.
You do.
Well, where I'm sitting in front of this Kiva fireplace here where I've moved, and before I purchased the place, it had fractures in its flue, and so they had to seal it. And I said to the woman who I purchased from, I want to pay for half of that, because the way I saw it, is that this Kundalini vessel that had been violated and been fractured was about to be sealed. And so, and I did ceremony and I did song. And the day that it was happening, I was on the road here, and I did song with my a crystal bowl, and I do this sort of song. And I was very moody that day. And we're driving, and I was not in great shape. I had a friend helping me. And we're driving through Colorado, and then all of a sudden we're listening to something, and I turn off the sound on the car because Raven flew and I had to sing. So I started singing, and then at a certain point I went, my God, that's Chimney Rock. And I was singing, and so Chimney Rock was being sealed. That chimney, the earth's vessel, that Kundalini, I felt was being sealed at that point. And that was like right before All Souls. It was like on October 30th or 31st this happened. So, but that was just, it's just a very powerful experience. But I feel that this is what's happening, is we need to seal those cracks where we have allowed ourselves to be violated.
You know, I just want to say, Stella, that
You're here.
The story that I was telling was also including Hera's compassion and commitment to keeping her mysteries alive.
Yes.
And that was why she allowed herself to go into that situation. And Tammy was just telling a different version of that, being that she was having compassion for Zeus, which is, you really kind of interwove those things.
I love that. Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what's important with that too is for us, with all of our long history, may we open our hearts and honor what the fuck we have lived through for this. And so not shame, not guilt. And so was it seeming mistakes, or is this part of what we have done for this journey? And now it's time to go to the other. And I have Libra as my Venus, conjunct Neptune. So I actually have a lot of this Piscean energy.
Absolutely.
And bring that. I also have, not that you guys really deal with that, Black Moon in Scorpio, but I've gone deep. But believe me, there's no judgment. There's absolutely no judgment, and of the masculine either. It's a journey we've needed to take, but we still show up with that fierceness of seeing the truth and saying also no.
No more.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Yeah. Yes, no. Oh my gosh. Yes, Stella. I just, I've actually just gone through a pretty major breaking up process that very deeply resonates with what you're talking about. So, and it corresponds and it's perfectly aligned to everything I've just been experiencing. It's absolutely resonant. Thank you. And so many people I know on subtler levels sometimes, but
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, anybody else want to share? Hi, Martha. It's always so beautiful to see everybody's faces. Kimye, Alejandra, just beautiful.
Well, if we don't have anybody else, we might be ready to say goodbye. Oh, that's so sad.
Can I offer a song to end with?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
So when I sing, it's what comes through, and it will come through for all of us on our journey with Venus, beautiful Venus, our hearts, whatever.
Stella, can you wait just a second? Linda, did you want to say something?
Linda, did you want to say something?
No, you were just saying how lovely it is to see all our faces, and I realized I didn't have my...
Thank you for sharing your beautiful face with us.
I've really enjoyed this journey with Venus. It's just somewhere I haven't really been before, and I know you've provided a lot of stuff to go back and really have a look at again.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a bit. I'm trying to still gather it all up, and it's been a good way to journey through. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, now I think, unless there's anybody else who really, really quickly wants to say something.
I'll just say that Dana wrote, "Thank you, sweet goddesses, for all you do. Big hugs to you. I'm off to dinner hugs." I think we're done now.
Okay. All right, Stella, you're on.
Okay. Tien no hoyo itoyo no honna ye tu inne to tu hana hei tu o te ita tae iu haio.
Thank you, Stella. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Blessings to all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So beautiful.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin and Tanya.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Mwah.